The biggest reason most guys cannot attract women today is that they are simply not evil enough. You have to be pure evil to attract women. Now, do not misinterpret this. Don't go out and do anything crazy. Don't harm anyone ever. When I talk about evil here, I'm not talking about abusing people or pushing someone in front of a train or something. I'm talking about something that I would call the energy of evil, as distinct from what we might call evil acts. Now, this is very difficult to explain because the energy of evil is admittedly what causes those evil acts to occur. It is what causes all acts in life that we would consider to be evil, sadistic, immoral. However, we need to make a distinction between the energy of evil and evil actions, and this is very important. Don't do any evil acts, okay? I can't be any clearer about that. When I say you need to be evil to attract women, what I mean is you need to channel the energy of evil. You need to harness your own dark side. And this is not optional. This is mandatory if you want to attract really good looking girls and if you want to be whole as a man. It's even at the root of a lot of other problems in life, such as depression. You know, depression is caused by not being evil enough. That might seem surprising for you to hear, but it's 100% true, and I'll touch on it more later. So what do I mean by the energy of evil as distinct from evil acts? Well, you can think of this like water. You have this reservoir of water. This is energy, the energy of evil. And in people we normally call evil, you know, psychopaths, serial killers, rapists, etc., that water, the energy of evil, flows down into specific evil actions. It goes from being a formless, shapeless potential energy, which is unmanifested, to taking the form and shape of a specific action or a specific event in space-time. However, the energy of evil does not need to become evil acts. It can also be used for good, or it can simply remain in its pure, undiluted form. So the energy itself is neutral. It depends on how you use it, what you make it flow into. You can use the energy of evil for good. Just like how, on the contrary, there are many people, and we all know them, who genuinely believe in their hearts that they're doing something good and altruistic to help other people, but they're actually making the world a worse place, objectively. They're objectively achieving evil, even if it's unintentional. So what I'm advocating here is the opposite. Abandon morality. Abandon altruism. Stop trying to be good. Embrace evil. Embrace your dark side. And use the energy of evil and harness your dark side to accomplish your will, which should be either good or morally neutral.
Earl was the best and brightest among us. But when our attention turned from outer space to the wooded areas surrounding Twin Peaks, he became destructively obsessive. I found this in the project archives.
These evil sorcerers, dupgas they're called, they cultivate evil for the sake of evil, nothing else. Now this ardent purity allows them to access a secret place where the cultivation of evil proceeds in exponential fashion. This place of power is tangible, and as such it can be found, entered, and perhaps utilized. The dupgas have many names for it, but chief among them is the Black Lodge.
Now, why is evil so attractive to women in particular? And why is it so important if you want to get, really hot girls, if you want to have a lot of options in your dating life? It's attractive because evil is dangerous and women like danger. They crave the feeling of danger, whether consciously or unconsciously. It gives them a rush, it gives them a thrill, and the reason for this is rooted in evolution. See, the opposite of evil is not good. The real opposite of evil is being harmless, and girls don't want harmless men. They are, in fact, repulsed by harmless men. And you don't have to be Einstein to figure out why that might be the case, right? This world is a sacrificial altar steeped in blood in which every living being must be perpetually sacrificed without end. If you don't believe that, watch a nature documentary sometime. Everything on this planet eats everything else. Everything living on this planet is competing with everything else all the fucking time. Nature is inherently antagonistic. The world is not merely indifferent to us, it is actively hostile. Everything from other living organisms to microscopic viruses to the weather itself is constantly trying to kill you all the time. To survive in evolution, you had to be tough. You still have to be fucking tough, actually. You have to be evil. The world is an ugly place. You have to fight back. Attack, attack, attack. That is reality. That is what this is all about. That is what the game we're playing in this incarnation is about.
After 10,000 years, I'm free. It's time to conquer Earth.
Now, psychopaths, sociopaths, evil men, they understand this. They don't need to be taught it. They don't need to read about it in a biology book. They don't need to watch a red pill podcast. They already know it in every cell of their body. They pop out of the womb knowing this. They understand that the nature of the physical universe itself is inherently antagonistic, and many of them are adapted to be highly effective in this sort of universe. Now, in light of this, if you act like a fucking Boy Scout all the time, if you take things like morality seriously, if you take the rules seriously, if you hold things like laws in high regard and see in them totems of some kind of eternal or metaphysical truth, you are going to get steamrolled every time by people who are simply better adapted to the real world, which is not the same as the imaginary world of morals and ideals that only exist in your own head. Now, something you should ask yourself is, why is it that so many girls are addicted to true crime documentaries? Why are they addicted to watching shows and documentaries about serial killers and rapists? Why is it that mass murderers like Ted Bundy got love letters from women when he was in prison, had women showing up in court to support him, and he even got a girlfriend and wife after he'd committed all those murders, and he actually had sex with her and had a kid with her while he was in prison? Why is it that true crime is the single most popular category of podcasts which women consume? Completely mainstream now. Why is it that women are objectively so obsessed with watching and reading about violent, sadistic men who actually enjoy hurting women physically and psychologically? The real reason why, which no one else is ever going to tell you about, is that this energy of evil and the feeling of danger, the thrill it gives women, is something they're just not getting from the men in their real lives. And women won't necessarily always be able to articulate this, but this is the underlying psychology behind it. On a subconscious, pre-verbal, pre-rational level, women know in their heart that there's something missing in the vast majority of men. It's something that's actually very, very important to them. They can't quite put their finger on what it is, but they just know from the moment they see a guy, he just isn't evil enough. He doesn't have the killer instinct. He's not dangerous. He's harmless. And when she gets that sense about you that you're harmless, as she does with 99% of guys she meets, it's an instant turnoff. That's the ick that they all talk about. That is what it actually comes from. And once she knows, once it's become clear to her that you are harmless, there is nothing you can do or say at that point that is going to turn things around. Look, the way to put it to you is like this. Imagine you were born in a weird, futuristic sci-fi dystopia.
Some kind of crazy future.
And in this crazy future dystopia, every single woman is fat and morbidly obese. Every single woman is over 300 pounds. Every female, from little girls to old ladies, they're all morbidly obese. You've never seen a slim, fit, athletic girl in your life. You've been raised this way. You've never seen one. Now, all these fat ladies, many of them like you. They're like, yeah, you're a handsome young man. Will you have sex with me? And you're like, yeah, well, I guess. It's like, you don't know any different, right? You don't know there could ever be anything better than that. And so you settle for having sex with the morbidly obese ladies with their rolls of fat and the weird smells and everything else. And again, you don't know that life could be any other way. So, you're happy enough. You're like, well, I guess this is just what women are like. This is what sex is like. There's lots of rolls of fat and there's weird smells and this is it, I guess. But now imagine that one day you're walking along and you see a girl who actually is slim. She's wearing a little bikini or something. She's healthy, she's vibrant, she's radiant, she's super fit. And suddenly you're like, whoa, holy shit, what is this? She literally takes your breath away. And in that moment, you're like, there's a whole other level of what girls are and what beauty is that I never even imagined before. This is what happens when a good girl encounters a psychopath. It is exactly the same thing. It is exactly the same. There's a reason why, as men, we are attracted to girls who are slim, healthy, fit, who look good naked. They smell really good. They look really good. It's not social conditioning. It's not advertising or, the way we were raised. It's in our DNA. It's in our blood. It's our nature. Your DNA sees a girl who has these qualities and it recognizes right away, if you get her pregnant, those kids are going to be healthy. They're going to be robust. They're going to be beautiful. They're going to be very well adapted to the environment here on Earth. Likewise, when a girl meets a guy who is evil, who is dangerous, who has integrated his own evil and is able to use it effectively in a controlled and measured way, her DNA is recognizing immediately, if I have sex with him and become his mate, he's going to be able to protect me. He's going to be able to get whatever the fuck he wants from other people so that we can have a nice life. I can rely on him. I can depend on him. I can feel completely safe with him. I can be like a little girl with him. I don't have to worry. I don't have to make decisions. I don't have to think. I can be free to be completely feminine because he's able to take care of all the masculine side of life for me. It's like there's nothing this guy can't handle. He's a fucking shark. He's a killer. He has no nerves. And when a girl can look in your eyes and see that, when she can look in your face and see that steady, unwavering eye contact looking calmly back at her, when she sees that little half smile, that look of pure evil in your eyes, that you just don't give a fuck about anyone or anything besides yourself, only then can she actually feel fully safe with you. You understand? This is biological, it is eternal, it has never been any different, and it is never going to change. Whether you like it or not, it's called the animal kingdom, and you're part of it. And so is every woman you've ever met and will ever meet. And the animal kingdom does not recognize things like laws, rules, morality, right and wrong. These are man-made. They are social constructs. When you buy into these social constructs as if they're natural, as if they're real, when you regard them with an undue deference or reverence, it shows the girl in a subtle but powerful way that you do not have what it takes to be a winner in this world. When you are moral, when you are virtuous, when you are a good person, it shows her you're the type of guy who's simply going to be steamrolled by other people. You're the type of guy who's going to be bullied by other people. You're the type of guy who's going to let other people's opinion of him, not even their actions, not even their words, but just the thoughts they're having in their heads about you. You're the type of guy who's going to let other people's opinion of you stop you from going for what you want, from taking what you want. And that is just repulsive to her. It gives her the ick, and it should give her the fucking ick. Girls are 100% right to feel this way. It's actually a fucking blessing that they feel this way and that society hasn't been able to condition it out of them yet. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you approached a woman? And when's the last time you approached a woman in public with lots of other people watching? When's the last time you approached a girl who was in a group of her friends? When's the last time that you saw two girls having a conversation and you liked one of them and you walked up to them, interrupted their conversation, talked over them loudly and said, "Hey, excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Good evening, I'm Michael. Nice to meet you." When's the last time you did that? When's the last time you saw a girl and a guy together and you walked over there and started talking to the girl while the guy was standing right there? And if he starts getting pissy with you, you say something like, "Oh, you two married? What's that? No? Cool, nice to meet you, man." And then you go right back to talking to the girl like he doesn't exist. When's the last time you did something like that? Maybe a better question, have you ever done anything like that in your entire life? Could you? Could you do that? Do you have the balls to do that?
And I thought, my God, the genius of that, the will to do that. Perfect, genuine, complete, crystalline, pure. And then I realized they were stronger than me. They have the strength. If I had 10 divisions of those men, then our troubles here would be over very quickly.
Do you have the testicular fortitude that it would take to approach a girl like that in front of her boyfriend or a guy she's standing with, for example? For virtually everyone watching this video, the answer is no. But what do people want to do? Everyone wants to judge. Everyone wants to point their little finger and say, "Nah, nah, nah, that's bad. That's immoral. You're a bad person." Morality is a cope for being a coward. Always has been. Always will be. Now, don't get me wrong here. Conscience is real and should be respected. You should always obey your conscience. No exceptions. But morals are for fucking losers. Morality is simply a cope for not having the ice in your veins which you actually need to succeed and be effective in this life. If you want to get girls, you have to become pure evil. You have to stop giving a fuck what anyone else thinks of you and go for what you want. And that's what gives girls those butterflies in their stomach. That's what makes it where when you approach that girl, whether she's alone or with people, you do it purposefully, decisively. It's a straight line from you to the girl. There's no dabbling around, no hesitation. She never even sees you coming. Bam, you're just there, standing in front of her. "Hey, I'm Michael, nice to meet you." Shoulders square with hers, directly in front of her, not standing at some weird angle. She looks in your eyes and she sees that calm, steady eye contact looking back at her. You're looking in her eyes. You're not looking at her ears. You're not looking at her hair. You're not looking past her head. You're looking into her fucking eyes. Nowhere else. When you do that, when you approach her like that, when you approach her like a sociopath, when you have zero guilt, zero hesitation, zero shame in what you're doing, that's when you get those reactions from girls where she's immediately like, her eyes go wide, her pupils are huge, she's got that little smile on her face. It's immediate attraction, immediate horniness, immediate wetness in her p***. And this comes, you have to understand, from a place of evil. It comes from a place of selfishness, no empathy, no sympathy, from not giving a fuck what other people think of you, from not giving a fuck that you are interrupting their conversation. Their conversation. Meeting me is better. I'm the better opportunity. It comes from not only being willing to break the rules, but actually enjoying the fact that you're breaking the fucking rules. From taking a perverted pleasure in breaking rules, getting an adrenaline rush from breaking rules, and being addicted to that rush. Being addicted to the feeling of growth that you get from it. And that feeling and the knowledge that every time you do this, every time you approach a girl, you are changing yourself. You are transforming yourself on a deep identity level. You are becoming more and more free, more and more evil, more and more uninhibited, more and more adventurous, risk-taking, thrill-seeking.
You were looking for a way to change your life. You could not do this on your own. All the ways you wish you could be, that's me. I look like you want to look, I fuck like you want to fuck, I am smart, capable, and most importantly, I'm free in all the ways that you are not.
Now, to really hammer this home and get into this kind of mindset, there's a book I'd really recommend that every guy read. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's called American Desperado. It's by a guy called John Roberts. This guy was in the mafia, his father was a mafia hitman, and he then went and served in the Vietnam War, or to be more accurate, it's more like the government turned him loose in Vietnam, and then he basically went mad and became a psychopathic killer over there. And when he came back home, he then took what he learned in the jungle to become one of the biggest cocaine traffickers in Miami in the 1980s. He was working under Pablo Escobar and the Colombian cartel, and the basic lesson of this book, the moral of it, if you could even call it a moral, is that evil is stronger than good. You know, as he puts it at the start, if there's one thing in my life has been about, it's the idea my father taught me when I was a boy. Evil is stronger than good. If you have any doubt, pick the side of evil. Those are the morals I live by. It's how I got power in different situations. Evil always worked for me. My life is proof that my dad was right. And it's a great book because, you know, a lot of people in the elite, they follow this exact philosophy. And not just the elite now, but I mean every elite that's ever existed. They follow this moral code, but they never talk about it. They never admit it. Whereas John Roberts admits everything. And so reading this book is like a breath of fresh air. It's very refreshing because he doesn't lie. He doesn't try to make himself look good. He doesn't give a shit about looking good. And so I want to read you a few passages from this book because it's very pertinent to what we're saying here. So this first part I'm going to read you, this is from the introduction, and it's where the journalist is interviewing John Roberts' wife, Naomi. He writes here, she's an energetic presence, 30 years younger than him. There's an athletic bounce in her movements, and she speaks in an exuberant, bubbling accent. She pulls me aside before my first dinner in the house and says, I adore John, but the day I met him, he touched me and my body went numb because his energy is black. John is not human. I love him, but I live as his prisoner. I cannot leave him because his evil is magnetic. Hollywood super agent Ari Emanuel calls frequently to discuss Roberts' deal with Paramount Pictures and Mark Wahlberg, who plans to portray him in a film. During one such call, Naomi says, see, people come to John because he's evil. Mr. Emanuel and the movie star Mark Wahlberg worship the power my husband has. They wish they could have even one pinky full of the evil that John has. Very interesting stuff, right? Now, these next few passages I'm going to read you are from John Roberts talking in his own voice here. So he's talking about a shooting he saw his father do when he was 7. He writes, after the shooting, I watched the news on TV. I expected to hear a story like, man gets shot in the head, but there was nothing. I couldn't figure it out. In the movies, it was a big deal if someone got shot. The police investigated. There were trials, arrests, headlines. But I'd seen a real shooting and nothing happened. By doing a murder in front of me, my dad had taught me another lesson. He showed me you can get away with things. It's not like they teach in school. My father did what he did, and he didn't go to jail. It wasn't like God punished my father, made him lose a leg or get cancer. What my father did made no difference to the universe. It showed me that if you're careful not to get caught, you can do anything. It was a very good lesson. Maybe the best lesson I ever got. Another excerpt here, he's talking about the war in Vietnam. He says, as sick as we were, the gooks would do the same to us if they could. The Viet Cong skinned people alive. They did it to villages they didn't like. They did it to Americans. We spent weeks following a company of Viet Cong who, on their radios, had bragged about torturing Americans, saying what morons Americans were. We picked off stragglers, and instead of shooting them, when we were done, we started skinning them. We stripped them naked and hung them upside down from a tree. When you hang a person upside down, it makes his heart pump faster. All the blood flows into the person's head. It makes everything much more painful when you start skinning him. This could take hours. Eventually, the whole body slides out from the skin. People will stay alive for hours like this. Steve would lean over that fucker, look into his crazy eyes and say, "You think I'm a moron? Who's the moron now? I took your skin." Our evil was as strong as theirs. There were dozens of teams like ours, roaming around in the woods. Not everybody would act the same as us, but we killed a lot of good officers. We called many strikes on tunnels and weapon caches. The government needed people like me and Steve and George. They didn't want to know we were out there skinning people, but we were all cogs in the same machine. You can't expect to fight a war and not use evil on your side if you want to win. In Vietnam, I came to dislike the American government. They got their power in the war by using people like us, but the officers looked down on us. They were like the Green Beret who worked with us. He'd always tell us how sick we were, but he was out doing the same things. He told himself he was better than us because he didn't enjoy what he did, as if having a conscience made him superior. The way I look at it, if you laugh when you kill somebody or cry, it makes no difference to the guy you're killing. So why not have fun? When a country goes into war, it acts like a sociopath. It sends people like me out into the woods to do the most evil things we can think of. But everybody else pretends like they're on the side of the angels. The reality is, if the angels want to win, it takes the devil to succeed. When it came to women, I was crazed. It was nothing for me to fuck a woman 5 or 6 times a day. I didn't care if what I did was respected by society or not. My idea of a party was a bunch of Playboy bunnies on Quaaludes in the back room with a forge. He made a new table for us in the middle of the restaurant, and we finished breakfast all by ourselves. I felt invincible. There I was, 22, and I just fucked James Bond's girlfriend in the toilet. For my father, evil was a tool, but in the early 1970s, I realized I was different than him. Evil for me was not just a tool. I liked doing evil things. What I liked more than anything else was to rob people. The best way I can explain it to you is like this. It's like getting your rocks off fucking a girl. Robbing somebody is the same, but it's a different tone. It's like having an orgasm in your brain. This is why I say my real calling in life is Satan. I don't know what Satan is. Maybe Satan is just an organizing principle, like gravity. Whether Satan is a real person or something else, whatever he is the side I'm definitely on. Even though I care about my son today, I still have no heart for most people. I remain evil. When I tell you about the bad things I've done, I generally don't feel bad. I feel worse thinking of football games I lost money on. So it's a great book, and he talks about all these terrible things he's done, innocent people he's harmed and so on. And I'm actually giving you the nice version here, believe it or not. There's a lot worse in this book. But anyway, towards the end, he's finally caught and he's brought to justice, and he gets sentenced to 300 years in prison. And at that point, you're sort of thinking like, oh, okay, well, I guess that makes sense, right? Crime doesn't pay. But no, what actually happens is because he'd been involved with the CIA as part of Iran-Contra, and because he'd been bribing a congressman while he was a drug trafficker, he's sentenced to 300 years. He serves 3. And he spends the rest of his life living on the beach in Miami with a happy family, beautiful wife, a son he loves. They make a documentary about his life called Cocaine Cowboys, and he ends up becoming a big celebrity, rich, famous, various celebrities and rappers go to visit him and pay him respects. And basically the whole lesson of the book, both implicitly and explicitly is, yes, evil wins. Evil is stronger than good. You may not like it, but in this case, as in many others, that is just objectively what happened. And you have to get this into your head because it goes against all the ways we're conditioned. Evil wins. Evil is effective. Evil prospers. Evil defeats good virtually every time. For evil to win is the rule, not the exception in life. You wouldn't know it by watching movies, but if you study history, if you study biology, in other words, if you study the actual facts of life in reality, as opposed to imaginary scenarios that people invented in fiction, then it becomes pretty fucking obvious that evil works. Evil wins. Evil prospers. Now, I already know here, when you say something like this, you're always going to get that one guy in the comments who's religious, and he'll say something like, well, Mike, evil may win in this life, but it's different in the other world. In the afterlife, evil people get punished, they go to hell, or they have bad karma they have to work out. It all balances out in the end. And that may be true. I personally live as if it is. I'm actually a very nice person. I'm very moral. I picked up a fucking banana skin on the ground the other day because I didn't want someone to trip on it. However, there are some very, very powerful lessons you can learn by studying specifically evil men. Men like John Roberts, men like even someone like Ted Bundy. And specifically, what you want to be aware of and what you want to start focusing on is the aura that these men of evil have with women, the magnetic hold they have over women. If you do not understand women's attraction to evil men, you do not understand women. This is something that is innate in the female psyche. It's never going to go away. If you try to act like this is an aberration or that this is something that's only true of mentally ill women or something, you are going to get your ass kicked by life over and over again. Again, the perfect fucking analogy for this is like that very fat, morbidly obese woman who just can't understand, why don't guys choose me? Why don't they choose me over those girls who are slim and fit and petite? Like, I have all these things to offer that those girls don't. I'm such a good person. I'm so nice. I'm kind. I'm supportive. I'll cook for you. I'll clean for you. I'll do anything you want me to do in bed. I just love you so much. I want you so much. Why can't you want me? And she may just be a complete gem of a human being. Like one of the best people you'll ever meet. Funny, smart, cool, all of it. But it doesn't fucking matter. If she doesn't get her weight under control, if she won't put the goddamn fork down and get in the gym and make herself slim and toned and petite and athletic and healthy, there is no tall, rich, handsome, Prince Charming guy who is ever going to choose her over a slim, hot girl. Ever. It's never going to fucking happen. None of those other positive qualities she has are going to make any difference. They're not going to convince a guy who has options to choose her over a girl who's actually healthy. And it's exactly the same way with being evil, being dangerous. It doesn't matter what other positive qualities you have. Nice guy, go to the gym every day, good job, good money. If you're not evil, you're repulsive. If you're harmless, you are repulsive. So, we've talked about evil here as a genetic principle, that women are attracted to evil men because ultimately it's about survival and reproduction. And that's true on the level of the physical plane of reality. What I want to introduce you to now, however, is an even more radical concept of evil, an even more radical embrace of evil. And this is the concept of what I would call evil as a spiritual principle, evil as a metaphysical principle. Evil as an archetypal reality, which is not only not opposed to spirituality or self-actualization, but which is actually coterminous with it. And we don't even need to get into Satanism here. We don't even need to get into the left-hand path or anything like that. What I want you to do instead is take out your Bible if you got one and open it up to Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 10. There you will read the following. When you march up to attack a city, make its people an offer of peace. If they accept and open their gates, all the people in it shall be subject to forced labor and shall work for you. If they refuse to make peace and they engage you in battle, lay siege to that city. When the Lord, your God, delivers it into your hand, put to the sword all the men in it. As for the women, the children, you may take these as plunder for yourselves, and you may use the plunder the Lord gives you from your enemies. But in the cities of the nation the Lord is giving you as an inheritance, do not leave alive anything that breathes. Completely destroy them, as the Lord has commanded you. So what God is telling people here through the voice piece of Moses is go to war, take people as slaves, rape the women, and if they refuse to be slaves, kill everyone, annihilate everyone. Don't leave alive anything that breathes. Now that's the Bible, and it's pretty metal, right? You know, it's not all puppies and rainbows. It's not a walk on the beach. It's more like Slayer lyrics or something. God is not good. God is not nice. God is not friendly. God is not safe. God is not Ned Flanders. God is not polite. God is an incomprehensible force of pure, radiant power. God is beyond good and evil. Now, many people are horrified by this. For example, the famous atheist Richard Dawkins wrote about this. He said, "The God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all of fiction. Jealous and proud of it, a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully." And my answer to that is good. Based. I don't worship God in spite of the fact that he is evil, quote unquote. I worship him because he is evil. You've never debated someone like me before, I can assure you of that. My religion, if you really would like to know, is more extreme than Satanism. Satanists are woke. Satanists are basically libtards. They worship Satan because God is too cruel and harsh and he doesn't support human rights or whatever the fuck. He's not enough of a nice guy for them, in other words. I worship God because I am in many respects a Gnostic. And the Gnostics would tell you that God, the God of the Old Testament, is Satan. Now, the original Gnostics considered that a bad thing, but I think it's a good thing. God is more powerful than Satan. He's more complete than Satan. He is love, but he is also hate. I reject Satanism because it's too fucking nice. It's not hardcore enough for me. You understand? You know what's hardcore? God is hardcore. God is more hardcore than Satan. God is more powerful. God is more evil. That's why God wins. And so what I'm saying here fundamentally, to tie this all back to getting girls, is that you need to stop being such a fucking Boy Scout about everything and start being more like God. By which I mean the God of the Old Testament, the Lord, Yahweh, who said, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, doeth all these things. Now notice, he didn't say some of these things. He didn't say the things we like and agree with, but all things. All things work for the glory of God. All things are God. All experiences, every impulse is God. Even Satan is God. If God is omnipresent, if God is everywhere, then God dwells even in the very depths of hell itself. And in this respect, the Old Testament is actually in surprising alignment with the great Eastern mystical schools like Taoism, Buddhism, Vedanta, Zen Buddhism. You know, in Buddhism, they say samsara is nirvana. There is no good and evil. There is no fortune or misfortune. There is no duality. Good is evil. Evil is good. It's all one. Everything good in life depends on and only flowers out of the bad. Everything bad in life initially started out as some good impulse. Fortune contains the seeds of misfortune and vice versa. Enlightenment means nothing other than recognizing in a visceral way, a way that grips you so you can't forget it, this truth of non-duality. And the Bible also teaches this. It's more subtle, it's not laid out as explicitly, but in the Bible, at least in the Old Testament, God is portrayed as both good and evil. God is non-dual. God is beyond our limited human comprehension, and God is not restricted to be or to act only in ways that we, with our extremely limited subjective understanding, personally consider to be good or moral or just. The deep wisdom of the Old Testament is that God is not presented as being wholly and entirely good, and that's not an accident. It's not because the people who wrote this were stupid or insensitive or they were savages who didn't understand the difference. It's intentional. It's there to deliberately trip you up. It's there to deliberately make you have to pause and think, and not just for a moment, but to ponder and meditate on it for many years. What is the nature of God? What is the nature of existence? What is the nature of being itself? Is it all supposed to be good and feel good all the time, and everything is just good, 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 nice, nice, nice? No. This is a tough universe. This place is hardcore. Everything here eats everything else. The world is inherently antagonistic. It's inherently hostile, inherently predatory, and it's supposed to be. The Old Testament understands this fact. It embraces this fact. It doesn't try to run from it. That is why God in the Old Testament is both good and evil. He is non-dual. A God that is only good would not be a complete God, just as a man that is only good is not a complete man. As Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. If you want to be whole, you must embrace evil. You must integrate your darkness, your shadow. You must become conscious of and then integrate all the parts of yourself that are objectively evil. The lower or animalistic parts of yourself that have a desire to hurt other people, to dominate other people, to be cruel, sadistic, whatever it is. Jung says you have to embrace these things. You have to make them your own. You have to bring them from the unconscious, where they're buried, into the light of consciousness. And only when you do this will you be a complete man. A man in the full sense of the word, rather than a man in quotation marks. As he wrote elsewhere, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Now, again, tying this back to the topic of getting girls, what this means is you need to become dangerous. You need to integrate the parts of yourself that give you the capacity for being dangerous, for being violent, for being cruel or sadistic, for example. These are actually the very things that will make you most magnetic to women if you integrate them properly and are able to channel them in a controlled and measured way. They are one of the main things that give you your aura as a man. And I'm going to cover more about how you do that on a practical level in my next video. It's going to be called, rather provocatively, Serial Killer Aura. So stay tuned for that. It's coming soon. All right. So in this video, I talked about how to cultivate the kind of aura and magnetism that makes you really, really attractive and irresistible to young, hot women. But like all my videos, this is really just touching the surface of one little theme or idea. If you want me to show you my full system, step by step, of how I get almost any woman I want into bed, how I meet girls, turn them into my girlfriends right away, how I convince women to be my buddies, then you need to get my full program, The Girlfriend Button. This is a program I devoted 5 months to building for you. I wanted to make it as comprehensive as possible. And the big advantage of having a system as opposed to just watching different random videos here and there is you're going to know exactly what to do and say at every single step of the process, from the moment you meet the girl to the point where she's your loyal girlfriend or your buddy. So there's no more, oh, she ghosted me, or she lost attraction, or I ran out of things to say. I show you how to prevent all these problems and more inside the Girlfriend Button. And I've even included a full 7-page cheat sheet of the exact magic words, lines, texts, and phrases I've used to seduce girls like these. These are all real girls I personally met and dated using this system. These are not pictures I just found online somewhere. Every single girl here was a serious girlfriend of mine for at least several years. And the context here you need to understand is I am not a good-looking guy. I've got a big, ugly hook nose, a weak chin, acne scars, receding hairline. I'm not anyone's idea of a hunk, but I am consistently able to pull girls who are way out of my league. And the way I do it, and I'm not fucking joking here, I do it using one little text, just one text. Really, I know it sounds insane, but I am not even bullshitting you. I just send this one simple text to every girl I match with online or whose number I get, and she ends up in my bed virtually every time. Almost always within days, sometimes even just in a matter of hours. If you want to see how I do this and you want to learn this one magic text, watch the video I linked for you in the description below right fucking now. When you click that link, it will open up a new page on my own website where you'll be able to watch the special private video I put together for you there. This is somewhat sexually explicit, which is why I can't post it here on YouTube. But in that video, and only in that video, I'm going to teach you the secret of this 12-word text that gets any girl naked in your arms in bed within just days of meeting her. And this will work for you. I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't care what kind of Quasimodo freak or monster you look like. Attraction is attraction. There are certain core things that women are attracted to in men, and it doesn't matter what you look like. Again, it all ties back to evolution. Did being a pretty boy help you survive in evolution as a man? Fuck no. In caveman times, being pretty only helped you survive if you were a girl because guys wanted to fuck you and so they didn't kill you. The only way that being a little Justin Bieber pretty boy helped you survive as a man in caveman times is if bigger, larger alpha males wanted to keep you around so they could fuck you in the ass. Ouch! Other than that, being pretty, being good looking didn't do shit for you to help you survive as a man in evolution. Hence why women are evolved to not give a fuck about your looks. All they care about is your behaviors. The behaviors that show whether you're an alpha male or not, whether you're that fucking shark or not, whether you're a winner. So click the link in the description now and learn how to be a shark, not a fat. Once again, when you click that link below and watch the video, I'm going to reveal the #1 secret to never be ghosted by a beautiful woman again. How to always get her back. Never be flaked on again. And how to have any girl you want go from hating you or being indifferent to you to loving you, being obsessed with you, and getting down on her knees, butt naked, and begging to be your girlfriend. So look, I'm going to level with you here. If you watch my videos here on YouTube, but you don't get the girlfriend button, you're wasting your fucking time. Get the system. Learn how to do this step by step in detail. Learn all the little tricks, all the little nuances to this. Stop being a dabbler. Stop being an amateur. Stop wasting your own fucking time. Click that link now and get the fuck out of my office.